What's up, everybody out there watching this? This is my UFC 196 review. Just got finished on pay-per-view. I ordered it, watched it. Damn good pay-per-view. Except for one fight was very boring. I'm going to start it off now. Again, it was UFC 196 tonight. Two big main events that were very good. And two new champions were crowned. Excuse me. I catch my breath. I'm out of breath. Those fights, especially the last fight, McGregor-Diaz, was very exciting. I gotta catch my freaking breath. So I'm still excited about it. Okay. I'm gonna try to catch my breath and talk about the first fight. It was not for a title. It was a women's fight. In the women's division, whatever they call the women's division, I don't know. I guess they call it bantamweight, something like that. It was Valentina, I cannot pronounce her last name. Not even going to even try. Valentina, a blonde fighter, blonde woman, believe from Sweden, I think. I know she was not American, that's for sure. Against Amanda Nunes. Yeah, I think that's how you say her name. Nunes. N-U-N-E-S. Amanda Nunes. However you say her name. Pretty good fight. First round was pretty decent. Second round definitely went to Nunes. Definitely won the second round because she was on. She had Valentina on her back for most of the second round. So I give the second round to Nunes. First round probably went to Valentina. Anyways, the fight went all three rounds. So we had to go to judges' decision. Went to unanimous decision, 29-27, 29-27, and the third judge gave Amanda 29-27. So the victory goes to Amanda Nunes. She wins the first fight because it went to unanimous decision. It was a good fight. It was entertaining. Second fight was Lawler, however you say his name, Tom Lawler, went up against Corey Anderson. Pretty good fight. I really enjoyed it. Again, it was not for a title. So it was only a 3-round fight because title fights are 5 rounds in UFC and MMA. So, Tom Lawler, first off, I think he won round number 1. And I give round number 2 to Lawler also, or however you say his name. I'll just say Tom. Second round went to Tom. Third round went to Anderson, my opinion. But Tom still won 2 rounds. The first round and the second round, my opinion. He should have won the fight. Goes to 3 rounds, so we go to another judge's decision. The judge's scorecard. Unanimous decision, Corey Anderson. Yes, Corey Anderson wins. I was like, really? Really? He wins? Because the fight I watched, Anderson did not win. He did not win, in my opinion. But I'm just a fight fan. I'm just a UFC MMA fan. I'm not a judge. But from what I saw, me judging it, Anderson lost. Because Corey, he didn't win round 1 or 2. Tom won round 1 and 2. Anderson did better in round 3. But the judges give Corey Anderson the victory by scores of 30-27. 30-27, and the third judge gave Corey Anderson 29-28. So he gets a victory, unanimous decision, which was bullshit. Corey Anderson shouldn't have won. That was bull crap. It was a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of crap, bunch of shit. It was stupid. On to the third fight, who I forget their names. I really forgot their names. Third fight was okay in the first round, but it went all 3 rounds, and it got really boring. It got really boring, super boring. I was on Twitter live tweeting, and I said, this fight is really boring me. It's enough already. It needs to end. I wanted to see Holly Holm and Miesha Tate start their fight, because this fight was boring me to death. It was super boring. The crowd was totally dead. The crowd must have went to the bathroom or went to the concessions to buy food, because the crowd was non-existent. They were very quiet. They didn't care for the fight either. Crowd was dead. Crowd even started booing in the 3rd round. They were booing because it was boring as hell. I don't remember who won, and I don't care. One of the guys was bald, as most fighters are bald. For some reason, they all shave their heads. Anyways, he reminded me of a Mini Goldberg. I even tweeted it out. Look at the Mini Goldberg getting beat up. Because he reminded me and looked like Goldberg. Like a Mini Goldberg. Because Goldberg is not that short in person. As short as this guy. So the 3rd fight on UFC 196, the 3rd fight was very boring. If you got the pay-per-view, you know what I'm talking about. It was super boring, and it almost put me to sleep. Thank God for Twitter, that I had Twitter to go on, or else I would have fell asleep. 4th fight of the pay-per-view was a championship fight, a co-main event. One of the first main events of the night. As I said, UFC 196 was a co-main event, or double main event, whatever you want to call it. It was for the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship. Holly Holm defended her title that she just won by defeating Ronda Rousey last, I think, November. And I don't think Holly Holm has fought once since then, or defended it once. I don't think she has. So this was her first title defense, I believe. Again, I don't follow UFC that closely, but when there's big pay-per-views and really big fights on TV or pay-per-view, I try to watch it and try to order it, like I did tonight. I did a UFC 196 prediction. It's under my MMA predictions and review shows in my MMA playlist. So check out my UFC 196 predictions. I did a prediction, so of course I was going to watch the pay-per-view tonight and get it. So round number 1 was pretty good. I give round number 1 to Holly Holm. Round number 2. Round number 2 was very, very good, very entertaining. Round number 2 I give to Miesha Tate, because she took her down. Took her down, was on top of her, doing ground and pound, and Miesha Tate in round number 2 was controlling the fight totally. Holly Holm was laying on her back. She looked blown up. She looked like she was getting really tired, like she had no energy. She couldn't get Miesha Tate off of her. She couldn't get up to her feet. She just looked like she totally gave up and was really tired. So it was a very good round number 2 for Miesha Tate. She controlled it by taking her down, not letting her get up, and controlling her. Miesha Tate showed me a lot in this fight. She really did. She showed me way more than I thought she had. I didn't think she'd win. I said I thought Holly Holm was going to win. I was obviously wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong, because I'm happy for Miesha Tate. I'm really happy for her. She's a great fighter, and she's damn attractive. And she's a very good fighter, and she deserves to finally be a UFC champion in the women's division. She really, really does deserve it for the performance she gave us tonight. The performance she did against Holly Holm was fantastic, especially in the 5th and final round. So, round number 2 goes to Miesha Tate, because she just controlled her and she was on top of Holly Holm most of the second round, especially when the round ended and the horn went off to go to round 3. Holly Holm got saved by the bell, in my opinion. At the end of round 2, she was saved by the bell. Round number 3 starts, and I would give round number 3, my opinion, was a tie. They didn't do that much. Either fighter did not do enough to let me give round 3 to either one of them. It was a tie. Round number 4, I give to Holly Holm. She did a lot of combos, a lot of kicks, and then after the kick she would go like this, like rapid fire. She'd do a couple combo punches, rapid fire punches to Miesha Tate's face and actually connect on Miesha Tate. After a couple kicks, she would do a couple combos, and she connected a lot. She did a lot of side kicks to the ribs, to the stomach of Miesha Tate. She even did one kick that entirely pushed Miesha Tate, pushed her up against the cage. So Holly Holm is very strong. As the announcers said, Holly Holm has tremendous strength. She's very strong, and she's great at that side kick to the gut. So round number 4, I give to Holly Holm. Now, round number 5. I thought Holly Holm was going to escape this fight and retain the title. Holly Holm came very close to retaining her championship. But I think there's about 2 minutes left, or under 2 minutes, something like that. It's very close to ending. Miesha Tate took her down, and Holly Holm I think Holly Holm kind of gave up and was pretty much blown up, or she didn't expect Miesha Tate to come at her so hard. At the end of the 5th round, Miesha Tate kept coming at her and not quitting and not giving up and not giving in to just letting it go to decision and lose a fight. Because if it would have went to decision, Miesha Tate would have lost a fight, in my opinion. But Miesha Tate did not let it go to a decision. She took the fight into her own hands. And she kept coming at Holly Holm, took her down, got on her back, hooked in the choke, would not let it go. Had the choke locked on her, whatever they call it, the rear naked choke. She would not let it go. She had the choke locked on, and she was not going to let it go for anything. Holly Holm got up on her feet with the choke, with Miesha Tate on her back, and she flipped her. She flipped forward, did a somersault, and Miesha Tate landed on her back, but still had the choke locked on the champion. That was pretty damn impressive. That Miesha Tate did not break the choke. She still had it locked on. So she flips over. Miesha Tate still has a choke on. She's just choking her until she's going to pass out because Holly Holm would not tap out. The ref was about to end it. Holly Holm was getting choked. After she flipped her, she was getting choked. Holly Holm started going like this with her arms, like moving her arms like this. I'm not joking, this is in slow motion. She was moving her arms like this, like she was totally already out of it. Like the blood was already getting cut off to her brain. She was going like this, like she didn't know, like I guess she was trying to grab for the cage, I don't know. She was going like this, and then finally her arms just stopped and she passed out. Miesha Tate chokes out the champion Holly Holm in a pretty shocking, very shocking victory, because I thought it was going to go to the end of the 5th round and it was going to go to decision and the champion Holly Holm was going to retain her title. But I was dead wrong. Miesha Tate did a great job. She had a great game plan. She trained her ass off. She showed a ton of heart in the 5th round coming at Holly Holm and would not quit. Miesha Tate would not quit. I mean, I respected Miesha Tate as a fighter before, but after tonight's fight, after tonight's victory against Holly Holm, I respect Miesha Tate even more as a fighter. She's a great fighter. Before I never I knew she was good. I saw her fight a lot before, but I really didn't respect Miesha Tate enough to predict that she would defeat Holly Holm. But now, Miesha Tate, you got my respect forever because you fought a hell of a fight tonight. You deserve to be the new UFC Women's Champion. You really deserve it. You did great. So congratulations to Miesha Tate, the new UFC Women's Champion. 5th round, choked her out. Holly Holm passed out. She was out cold, sleeping. Congratulations again to Miesha Tate. Hell of a victory. Great, great win for her career. And now she's finally a UFC Women's Champion. Finally. She really deserves it. Now on to the main event. Conor McGregor defending his title against Nate Diaz. This fight, Nate Diaz was given, I think they said 2 weeks or 15 days to prepare for Conor McGregor or something crazy like that. Maybe 15 days or more than that. I don't know. Something like that. Nate Diaz came out first round. I would say the first round was a tie. Both guys were, throwing bombs at each other. Both guys were connecting shots at each other. Both guys did very good in the first round. But second round, I believe it started in the second round, or at the end of the first round, I think Nate Diaz got busted open. Started bleeding right over his eye. Or right over his right eye. He started bleeding. And the announcers were saying how the Diaz brothers have so much blood, or not blood tissue, whatever they call that. Scar tissue. They got so much scar tissue above their eyes and on their foreheads, like some pro wrestlers. But the Diaz brothers got their scar tissue from fighting in MMA. We know how wrestlers get it, by blading, by cutting themselves with a little blade. Anyways, Nate Diaz started bleeding over his eye. Second round, as I said, I think the first round was a tie. You could have gave it to either guy. You could have gave it to Diaz or McGregor in the first round. Second round, Nate Diaz started bleeding a lot more. He was a bloody mess. Before the fight ended, he was bleeding a lot. I'm sure that's not easy to fight. When you got blood running down into your eye, that has to suck. But at least he could wipe it out of his eye with his glove. So, McGregor got hit with a couple good left or right hands. He got hit with some good ones. He started staggering and moving like this. The announcer right away, Joe Rogan, started saying McGregor got hit with a good shot. He's in trouble. He's in trouble. He got hit with a good one. So then Nate Diaz gets him up against the cage, and both of them are throwing bombs at each other, but McGregor looked pretty out of it. So then Nate Diaz up against cage, drilling McGregor with a lot of shots, a lot of big shots. And then he gets on his back. I forget how, or he got on top of McGregor, started punching him in the side of the head. And then he got on his back and he locked a choke in. A rear naked choke, I believe they called it. And McGregor, the first tap out didn't really look like he meant to tap out. He went like this, like once or twice, and then he did it a second time, and he did tap out. I do believe Conor McGregor tapped out, and he knows he tapped out because after he spoke, after the fight, he didn't really say, I didn't tap out and the referee shouldn't have stopped the fight. He didn't say that because he knows he lost. He knows he tapped out. So, shocking. Miesha Tate was pretty shocking. Her victory was shocking because it was close to the end of the 5th round. And the fight would have ended, and they would have gave it to Holly Holm. This fight, second round, ended. Nate Diaz, I almost said Nick Diaz, because that's his brother's name, I believe. Nate Diaz wins in the second round. He's a bloody mess. And he wins by tap out. By rear naked choke, he wins. That was a shocking victory. I was pretty surprised. I was also happy because, my opinion, Conor McGregor, the guy needs to go check his ego because he's gotten a giant ego. He thought he's unbeatable. He thought he was the shit, and he thought nobody could beat him. My opinion, his ego got the better of him. So I'm glad he lost. So he can check his ego next time. Before he gets in the cage, he can check his ego outside the cage before he gets in there. Because in the first round, his hands were down almost the entire fight. When he was fighting, he had his hands down. Then in the second round, he taunted Diaz and went like this, telling Diaz to come bring it. Then Diaz got a lot of good shots in at him, and Diaz went like this and told McGregor to come back at him and bring it. So that was pretty awesome. But, my opinion, Conor McGregor had a giant ego, so I'm glad he lost. I predicted McGregor would win. I was obviously wrong. I admit that. It's pretty hard to predict MMA fights because it's not pro wrestling. So, I picked McGregor and Holly Holm because I thought they'd win. I was wrong. I admit that. I mean, I don't really care that I was wrong. People out there might care, but I don't care. It was just a prediction, and a lot of my predictions will be wrong. In the past, they were wrong, and in the future, I'm sure I'll predict a couple wrong fights. Anyways, I'm much better at predicting pro wrestling because that's what I know the most about is pro wrestling. Anyways, very entertaining UFC 196. We had 2 or 3 very good. I mean, the first women's fight was pretty good. The second fight was good. And then the fourth and fifth fight were very good. The 2 main events were very, very good. Pretty shocking. 2 new champions were crowned at UFC 196. It was a very good pay-per-view. If I give it a rating, 1 to 10, I would give it... I mean, the main events, in my opinion, were a 10 because of how they ended, with a new champion being crowned. The entire pay-per-view as a whole, I would give it a 8. The third fight was boring as hell. The third fight gets a 0. And the rest of the pay-per-view gets a 8. The 2 main events were a 10, so I add 10 and 8 together. I guess I'll give the pay-per-view a 9. UFC 196 was very good, very entertaining. If you missed it, somehow try to find Miesha Tate, Holly Holm fight. I don't know where you're going to find it, but try to find it or order the replay of the pay-per-view and order and watch Diaz versus McGregor again. I'm going to watch these main events again because they were that good and that entertaining. Hope I entertained somebody in my review of UFC 196. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at TNAWWE Guy and at NXT WWE Guy. UFC 196 gets 2 thumbs up. It was very good. Bye for now, everybody.